your testimony. The chair now recognizes Mr. Dave Ure, the Director of the School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration from Salt Lake City, Utah, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also thank you, Mr. Bishop and Congressman Chaffetz, for the work you've done, and also for the committee members for inviting me here. My name is Dave Ure. Been in the saddle now for 10 months, so I know a lot about nothing, and I'm learning as hard as I can, and I was thrown into the middle of this, not knowing a lot about it until I was here. Let me give you a little bit of history. I was a dairy farmer up until 3 years ago. Milked cows for 50 years. Forced my kids, my sons and my daughters to milk cows. Taught them their times table while milking cows. And so school kids are pretty close to me. Served in the legislature for 14 years, 2 years underneath Speaker Bishop, of which he and I had a love-hate affair, and mostly a love affair. Cut that off? Okay. Served as the county councilman for 7 years until I took this position here as school trust lands. And so I've seen a lot of different areas. I don't envy you and your jobs in trying to decipher the balancing act between environmentalists, the school kids in Utah, the tribes, and the environmental people. But it can be done, and I believe that this is one way of doing it in this. The reason we are here is that school trust lands are scattered with a checkerboard with 4 sections every township, of which we're talking 311,000 acres in this transaction of the PLI. Any decision that is made about the use of an area of public lands directly affects the school kids. There is a huge amount of land in southeastern Utah that is particularly beautiful, canyon land that everyone can agree should be preserved. The question is, how do you preserve it? Do you preserve it with a scalpel as we're doing in PLI, or do you take an axe or a chainsaw and do it as some have suggested is called a monument? What we ask is that where federal lands are placed into wilderness or conservation management, there be a simultaneous exchange of straight trust lands out of the new conservation area for usable federal lands elsewhere in the state. SITLA already has a successful record of working with the Department of Interior and the BLM to finish large land exchanges of this nature. In the Grand Staircase Escalante Monument in 1998, the West Desert in 2000, and most recently the Colorado River Exchange with Moab in 2009. We believe that land exchanges proposals by the PLI Act builds on this track record. Under the PLI Act, SITLA would trade trust lands out in the Bears Ear National Conservation Area, the Gemini Bridges and areas near Moab, and huge acres in the San Rafael Swell and Desolation Canyons. The PLI bill also lays the groundwork for a large conservation transaction for SITLA among a wildland block in the southern Book Cliffs of Graham County. In this legislation, there are 41 new wilderness acts, 11 new national conservation areas. These will be designated to use under the proper design and policy set by the BLM and by the Forest Service. We understand that there are some parts of the PLI land exchange proposal that have created objections from various parties. This is invariable in a proposal this size. SITLA commits to work with all these parties, particularly the Ute Indian tribes, to resolve any of these issues. We are already partners with the Ute Indian tribes on several other issues. The Hill Creek extension we're talking about. This will not be a new deal with us. In the 10 months that I've been in this saddle, I've learned to respect and admire the Ute tribe. Don't always agree with them. But I've learned to respect their culture and their history. And I look forward to doing it again. It will not be an easy cup of tea, but we have a good communication. The 2 gentlemen from the tribe sitting behind me right now, I've spent many hours over the last 10 months talking with them. We can continue to talk. They have school children in the school system in Utah as well as everybody else. And the money we raise furthers their progression. It goes directly to the classrooms, and that's what I'm asking you to do, is to push this bill along. We need this bill for our school kids and for the Ute tribe school kids in the state of Utah. I thank you for your time today, and I apologize for my emotions.
No apology necessary. Thank you for your testimony. And our final witness is Mr. Cliff Coons.
I got short time. Mr. Ure, can you explain why this is such a good win-win for the state and the federal land managers?
Thanks for the question. In the PLI, this is a way for both the children in the state of Utah, also the Ute Indian tribe, and also the federal government to all make money off the natural resources, and still be very, very directly guided and not ruin the picturesque pictures or the picturesque things we have in our mind that are beautiful. We have new ways of drilling oil anymore, or gas, called horizontal, as you guys are all aware of which we can start one here and go 2 miles one direction or another. I think one of the things that both Congress and also the people of the United States do not realize is that the federal government makes money off royalties off oil and gas. With our sections being scattered out throughout the western state or throughout the state of Utah, oil companies do not have the incentive to go out there and pay the mitigation fees or the mitigation acreage of going 1 mile and having to put 10 miles into mitigation one way or another. By us being able to block this up, we are able to have better control of our property. We are able to give royalties to our school kids, to the federal government, if that's the ground of which they choose to drill on. And also with partnerships with the Ute tribe, we can also give royalties there.
Right.
So it's a win-win for everybody on that, Congressman.
With only one more. And here, now let me come back to you, Dave. You know, you said when you became SITLA Director that you wanted to grow the fund by $1 billion. Do you think that goal is achievable if you don't do large transformative ideas like PLI?
No, it really isn't. The cost of drilling for oil in the state of Utah is already quite high, and oil companies are not willing to take the risk of going into one of our sections and then finding oil in a diagonal drill somewhere else. Plus, they can't afford the access to our scattered sections of the mitigation costs that the BLM and the federal government has put on top of these oil companies to mitigate out 1 to 4, 1 to 10 of what it might be. We need these blocks put together so that we can make more money for our kids.
Mr.